Welcome back, y'all, to the WDN4L podcast. That's the Who Dat Nation for Life podcast. I'm your host, Clay Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at ClayJ2K. You can follow the page on Twitter at WDN4L_pod. You can follow my TikTok at ClayJ2K540. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're listening on the Apple podcast platform, hey, check me out on YouTube as well. Watch the show for once. Maybe not just listen to it. I don't know. Switch it up. So today, I have actually done a decent amount of homework for this episode. So I'm not just going off the top of my head. I got some real shit to talk about. We're going to be doing a state of the NFC South and how everybody stacks up, at least how I view it at this very moment. OTAs are about to wrap up. Then there's going to be a little bit of mandatory mini camps next week. I think it's only 3 days. And then you get like a 5-week break or something until actual training camp. And that's going to suck. It is. It's going to suck. But I've been seeing a lot of good shit on Twitter just today alone. Today is June 4th. Just today alone, I've seen back-to-back clips of Rattler slinging it deep to Olave and fucking Tyler Shuck dropping a dime to Rashid Shaheed. Dude, at some point, I have it in my fucking notes that I was going to say who I think will start week 1. I still don't know. I still cannot. I can't do it. I can't tell. I can't. And it's not like I don't want to be wrong. It's just like, I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? God, they both, I mean, it's OTAs. You know what I'm saying? Take it with a grain of salt if you want to. No one's like really rushing at them and shit. It's just like, if they were gonna look like ass, they were gonna look like ass, regardless of whether it's on air or not. And they don't look like ass right now. They look pretty good. So, but I digress. Real quick, I wanted to say Derek Carr's retirement did process yesterday. So, in the quickest of quick fashions, Kool-Aid McKinstry has switched his number from 14 to 4, which has now created a domino effect of Donovan Peoples-Jones switching from 24 to 14 and Terrell Burgess switching from 42 to 24. And I told y'all in that one episode that Derek Carr was holding number 4 hostage, and this is what I meant. Like, someone wanted that number. It's a single fucking digit. I'm glad it was Kool-Aid. I also said in a different episode that I didn't like that he wore number 14. 4 looks so much more clean. So that's good. And then, maybe once Terrell Burgess gets cut, Devin Neal will grab 24. That's my next prediction. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about the NFC South. Because, people have this lazy, very, very lazy notion that the Saints are the worst team in the entire league, which blows my mind. Not necessarily are the Saints a bottom 5 team next year? Most likely. But are they the worst team? No. Dude, it's possible. It's possible. And when you hear if you're watching on YouTube, when you hear what I'm saying as far as the NFC South goes, it's going to sound the opposite of what I'm about to say, but it is possible the Saints don't even finish last in this division. You know what I'm saying? Will they? Probably. But I'm just saying, 32 is crazy to me. It's crazy. I don't know if y'all watched, if y'all are familiar with that franchise guy. I think his name is Marcus Whitman. He does a deep dive into all 32 teams leading up to the NFL season. He pretty much knows what he's talking about. He ranked the Saints 32. He has a whole bunch of metrics and numbers that go into it. It's a lot of math, and it does sort of back up what he's saying. But the funniest part about that entire video is he had the Saints ranked at 32, but his computer spit out the Saints still winning 7 games. So it's just, you can't sit here and realistically tell me that the Saints are worse than the Colts, the Jets, the Browns. The Browns have 5 quarterbacks. Come on, bro. And there's one other team, the Titans. You can't sit here, which he had ranked at 31, just because of Cam Ward. You cannot sit here and tell me that the Saints are not in a better position for the future than, and maybe the Titans is different as far as if I'm wording it that way. I will say, as of right now, though, I don't think the Saints are worse than the Titans. However, even as far as setting up for the future, you can't sit here and tell me that the Saints are in a worse position than the Jets, the Browns, and the fucking Colts. The Colts also don't have a quarterback. They have a terrible quarterback competition going on right now. And they drafted Riley Leonard. That's not going to help anything. I know they probably didn't draft him to really compete with either of those guys. But, and real quick, I just wanted to say, rest in peace to Jim Irsay. You gotta love when owners and GMs actually care about their team winning and for the love of the sport. And I've heard that that's what Jim Irsay was all about. I've also seen multiple times that he was just a nice guy in general. So rest in peace to him. Absolutely, that sucks. And to all Colts fans out there, I feel for you. I do. When Tom Benson died. I mean, we don't know these people personally, obviously, but you feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was the owner of my team. When Tom Benson died, it was sad. And I'm sure I'm sure the Colts will wear some sort of patch on their jersey this season, as they should. But let's get into it. Not talking about TurboTax. So let's do this. Who should I start with, y'all? I don't give a fuck what you said, because I'm starting with the Panthers because that's the order I put it in. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to list the team. I'm going to give a little bit of a preview. Their record from the previous season, what I think the roster strengths and weaknesses are, some stats that I feel are relevant on offense and defense, and then my prediction for next season. So without further ado, let's get into the Panthers. Now, the way I feel about the Panthers, I don't really hate them. I'm not like a fan, obviously. I don't know. They're just kind of the Panthers to me. You know what I mean? When both teams were at least relevant, because I'll just say good. When both teams were good, like when the NFC South was at its peak, I would say the Saints and Panthers tended to split the series. And even in 2022, when the Panthers were like dog shit, the Saints split the series with them. I think the Saints and Panthers, while it not being a huge rivalry, is enough of a rivalry that I respect it, if that makes sense. I don't know. Point being, I don't hate them. I have no issues with the Panthers. But I will say, I am not entirely sure why all of a sudden it's like some general consensus that they're going to have some huge surge and change in wins this season. I don't know. I do like their draft class. I do like what they did there. I know they drafted Tet. That's cool. He's obviously a number one. I don't know if Leggett was going to give that to you. They signed Hunter Renfrow, so that's good for them on offense. They drafted Princely Umanmielen. They drafted Lathan Ransom. Both solid moves. I get it. I like their draft class. I do. I like their draft class. But I don't know if I completely trust Bryce Young yet. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into this. Record last year was 5-12, and technically they finished third in the division. They tied with the Saints. I don't know what the tiebreaker was. It was probably fucking stupid. But the fact that they picked before the Saints shows you that was it even really a tiebreaker? So if we're gonna do that, then technically the Saints finished third too. You know what I'm saying? So whatever. Point being is they were 5-12, same as the Saints. The roster strengths. For me, I would say Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle. Oh, I put down playmakers. I didn't necessarily put down like a position. I put Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, Trevor Etienne, possibly. Ted McMillan, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, and Hunter Renfrow. They definitely do not want to let Bryce Young have any more excuses if he does not succeed. Obviously, Hubbard is coming off a injury, but I don't think it'll really hamper him too much this season coming up. There is Rico Dowdle is good out of the backfield as far as receiving option. And Trevor Etienne he's Travis's brother. You know, I don't know. I mean, I watched him at Georgia. He was cool and all. He wasn't like anything crazy, but he provides good depth. Jonathan Brooks is a walking injury, so if I'm them, they're probably going to just throw that one out the window. Tet, top 10 draft pick. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, yes, he's very athletic. He is probably what you would call a freak. We will see if it even matters that he, quote, doesn't watch tape. I don't know for sure that that's even a thing anymore. I wasn't a big fan of when that report came out anyway. Him with Legette is definitely good, like a good duo at receiver. And then obviously you have Adam Thielen, who is going to be just that veteran presence and to help these young guys get better. Same with Hunter Renfrow. Like I said, Bryce Young has no excuses. Like, he has two receivers, not just one anymore, because that's what Adam Thielen was. Not just one, but two receivers that can help you underneath. They should be open just about every time, kind of thing. While you have Tet and Legette on the outside. Tet and Legette, that's kind of tough. On the outside, yeah, I mean, realistically, you would think, plus with Dave Canales calling the shots, you would think that this could be a good offense, right? But do we trust Bryce Young yet? I understand that he went on a little bit of a heater to end the season last year, but might I remind you that Derek Carr did the exact same fucking thing. And Derek Carr started out 2-0 looking fucking hot too. Then he went to shit. Players do this sometimes. So I am not saying that Bryce Young is not there yet, but I am saying we need to just calm down, okay? For example, and yes, he did get benched for a couple games last year, and it probably helped him a tad. At least if we want to, factor that into the heater that he went on. But so this still is what he finished his season with: 2,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions in 14 games. He had a 60% completion rating and an 82 QBR. I mean, he started out the season by throwing like 3 picks to the Saints. So, that 9 picks, it's almost impressive that he didn't get to double digits, but still. Anyway, I don't know, man. I don't know. I see the potential there. I do. And it's not like I'm trying to be biased, so I'm trying to keep that away. I do see the potential there with him. But we do need to calm down in comparing him to Drew Brees. Calm that shit the fuck down right now, okay? Here are their roster weaknesses, in my opinion. It's going to be corner. They kind of only have J.C. Horn. I couldn't even tell you who their number 2 corner is, and I looked it up the other day. But they are building their safety room up. I will give them that. They have Trayvon Merrick, which I don't know how it's pronounced, but they have him, and they have Lathan Ransom, along with bitch-ass Xavier Woods. He's a bitch for what he did to Chris Olave, and there is no denying that. I don't give a fuck what y'all say. Anyway, he's a bitch, but they have those safeties, so maybe it doesn't matter that they don't have the strongest cornerback too. I think J.C. Horn's just a tad bit overrated. He definitely shouldn't have been the highest paid corner at some point, but that only lasted for like a couple of days anyway. So to those that were on YouTube and saw me swaying back and forth like I had fucking ants in my pants, I had to shit like a banshee. So we got that out the way. So we should be a little bit more steady now. So I just talked about their weaknesses. Yeah. So, like I said, Bryce Young had 2,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Chuba Hubbard, 1,200 basically rushing and receiving yards. I'm rounding up for just about this entire thing. I didn't feel like putting down the exact number. Adam Thielen, 615 yards. Anyway, their defense finished 19th in passing, 67% completion percentage allowed, 32 sacks, which puts them at 29th, 32nd in the rush, at 5.2 yards per carry allowed. 24 touchdowns allowed, which put them at 29th. So, to me, yes, they addressed some. Well, here's the thing. Derek Brown was hurt, and that probably goes a really long way towards their rushing defense. I just don't know if that goes all the way to 5.2 yards per carry allowed. Like, for example, the Saints had the 31st rushing defense last year, and then it was just like a huge gap. And then it was the fucking Panthers at 32. They allowed so many yards. And I just don't know if that's going to change. It will for sure with Derek Brown being healthy, but I don't know if it's going to, like, all of a sudden go down by an entire yard. It could. It absolutely could. But 24 touchdowns is ridiculous. 32 sacks, that's not going to cut it. Like, maybe I should have said their weaknesses is in front seven because, like, dude, I mean, they did address it in the draft for the most part, but to me, it's like they're really going to need Bryce Young to take care of the ball, because if teams are allowed to do ball control on them, which really the stats are saying that's what they did to the Panthers last year. If teams are allowed to, or they allow teams to run the ball this much on them, they're never going to get the ball back. And it's not going to matter just how good Bryce Young is playing unless they allow all these yards and everything, but their red zone defense is insane and they only allow field goals. But still, it's not a sustainable model to have. My prediction for them is they probably win like 1 or 2 more games than they did last year, which I guess, because I had earlier, I don't understand why all of a sudden people have them winning 8 games. That just feels so random to me. But I guess if they win 1 or 2 more, then 8 wins isn't like insanely outlandish. But I still don't. I don't see that. I don't. It's crazy because I could see 7, but it's like for some reason 8 is that number for me with them that I'm like, I don't know about that. Like I said, they really have to hope that Derek Brown coming back has a huge impact, as well as their rookie class on defense, or else teams just run it all over them again. And again, like I said, I have a fucking gnat in here. That's nice. Bryce Young needs to take care of the ball because, and of course I have a fucking ring light, so the gnat is like just right at me. I love that. Shout out to Fred Nats though. Anyway, Bryce Young's gonna have to take care of the ball. If he turns the ball over, it's probably, GG at that point, because it's not looking like their defense is gonna stop anything. You get what I'm saying? Like J.C. Horn, cool. Trayvon Merrick, cool, I guess. I don't know. He's not better than Justin Reed. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. For the Panthers, I got like 7 and 10. That'll be my final number. That's like my pizza review. I'm everybody knows the rules, so I'm going with it. I got the Panthers winning 7 games, which is, I mean, that's an improvement. I just, like I said, we need to pump the brakes on Bryce Young just a tad. Look, if you're a Panthers fan and you're screaming and throwing shit at the TV or your car speaker, whatever, however you're listening to this, if you have an AirPod, you check it out. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not saying don't be excited for Bryce Young, because I'm not going to be that guy. I will later for the Falcons, but for the Panthers, whatever. I'm not saying don't be excited for him. That's your franchise quarterback. So be excited for him. Shit. Tell me I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying let's pump the brakes a tad. Players go on heaters all the time. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm fucking saying. So yeah, put in the comments what y'all think the Panthers will do. Like I said, I got 7 wins. Let me know if you think. Let's say we set it at 6.5 for the line. Tell me if y'all think over or under for the Panthers wins next season. All right, so we will move on to the Buccaneers. Unfortunately, they are still the best team in the division. And I'm not sure whether I trust that secondary, though. But unfortunately, no matter what, they definitely do have the best receivers in the division. And that's not even close. It's not even close. And honestly, Bucky Irving is an emerging star in the league. In my Dynasty League, I picked him up off the fucking waiver, or not even the waiver wire. He was just a free agent in my after week 1. I picked him up last year, and I'm about to flip him for like 2 firsts, possibly. To everyone in my league that is listening to this, I need some real shit for Bucky Irving, bro. He's gonna be like a top 5 running back next year in fantasy. I don't know about in the league, but in fantasy, I'm just saying I need some real shit for him, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, the Buccaneers' record last year, 10-7. Roster strength. It's going to be offense in general. Their offense is really good, dude. Their offense is really good. The receivers are probably a top 10 unit in the entire league. Maybe top 5 by the end of the year. I think Ibuka is a dog. Obviously, you have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Who the fuck? The kid that out of Washington that they drafted last year did pretty well too. They have really good receivers and just depth at that position in general. The tight end is still what is his name? If I was a Bucs fan, obviously I'd be able to tell you his name. It's escaping me right now. I'm sure I will be halfway through the Falcons and all of a sudden remember what his name is. But point being is he's really not the best, but he's not bad. And your receivers more than make up for that. Anyway. So yeah, offense in general, I mean, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White actually form a really good 1-2 punch. It's probably going to lean more towards just Bucky Irving next year. He's just that good, and he can catch it out of the backfield anyway. Rachaad White is most likely just going to be a backup, but you can rotate him. It's insane how much better Bucky Irving is than Rachaad White. Like, he clears. And their O-line has slowly been improving. That used to be their downfall. Yeah. Anyway. The weaknesses. I have to, just to be fair, I have to point out the weaknesses. Oh, I meant to say, the way that I feel about the Bucs. Okay. So, the way that I feel about the Buccaneers. They hate us. The Buccaneers hate the Saints for some reason. Fans, I should say. For the life of me, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I used to think it was a jealousy thing, and now all of a sudden they're winning. Good for them. But they still have this huge hate for the Saints. I don't know. We're not y'all's rivals. Our rival is the Falcons. So I don't know. Go beef with the Panthers, bro. Like, I don't get it. I don't. But I don't hate the Buccaneers. I definitely don't like them though. I definitely dislike them a lot more than the Panthers. I just wouldn't go as far as hate. I don't know. It's not like the Bucs and Saints have ever been like this back and forth rivalry kind of thing. Like when the Saints were really good, we always shit on the Bucs. Now that the Bucs are good, they tend to beat us. Like it's I wouldn't even. That's why I'm not. I don't know. I couldn't call it a rivalry per se, but like the fans, dude, the fans, Buccaneers fans do not like Saints fans, and I don't know. But good for y'all, man. Good for y'all, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to their weaknesses. I have to be fair. I have to give everyone a weakness. So I'm not just trying to bully y'all or anything. So the Buccaneers' weaknesses would be their secondary. Now this might be a hot take, but I am not the biggest believer in Antoine Winfield. I'm I think he's a bit of a liability in coverage. Um, he's a good box safety, but like he can get exposed easily in coverage. That is, he is a good run support safety. Absolutely. Um, anyway, Tyke Smith is a very good young piece in that secondary, though. I like him a lot. Most of their corners are rookies. They had McCollum last year. Xavier, I don't know. I don't know what his first name is, but McCollum last year as their number one corner, which he held up decently. Then they had Jamel Dean, but I've heard that he might be out the door on his way out the door. I know they drafted Benjamin Morrison and the kid out of Kansas State, Jacob Parrish, but that's relying a lot on young players in that secondary. And if you can coach them up, then by all means. But you're relying a lot on some young bucks back there, and that was no pun intended. What the fuck? Anyway, their front seven is decent enough that they might be able to get away with the fact that their secondary is so young, though. And yeah, that's true. Their front seven is good enough that, like, shit, they had like 46 sacks last year. Let me see. Yeah, I have 46 sacks last year. That puts them at sixth in the league. So their front seven is good enough to cover up the fact that, like, basically those rookies and McCollum aren't going to have to be covering for that long. You know what I'm saying? And it makes the secondary look a lot better than it actually is. But I'm not going to, like, shit on their secondary and automatically assume that it's not going to be good by itself. It just helps when your front seven is that good. And I have mad respect for Levante David. He's one of those that's just. I like the fact that he's always been on the Bucs. You know what I mean? It's hard to find that these days, and I like that. So good for him for the career that he's had. He's probably going to be hanging it up pretty soon. Same with Demario Davis. Same with Cam Jordan. They're all kind of in the same class to me. Anyway, so here's the thing. One of the reasons that they got a lot of sacks, though, is their offense is very high-powered and it scores a lot, which causes other teams to have to try and keep up with it, which causes quarterbacks to have to drop back a lot, and then obviously you're setting up your team to get more sacks in doing so. I'm not going to sit here and say that that is the only reason they got as many sacks as they did, but it's definitely a factor. And what I'm getting at is they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Again, just because of how good their offense is. They're going to be in a lot of shootouts. They're probably good enough to win those shootouts offensively, especially with Baker playing as good as he did. Listen to this. Baker Mayfield, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns. Fucking insane. To 16 picks. 71% completion. That's some Drew Brees shit. At 106 QBR. Good for him, dude. That is a hell of a fucking season. And if he plays like that again, they're going to keep winning all these shootouts. Bucky Irving, over 1,200 rushing and receiving yards. Rashad Whitehead over 600. Mike Evans is a consistent 1,000-yard receiver. Chris Godwin got hurt last year, so I didn't talk about his stats. And then you throw in Egbuka. Their defense was 29th in pass, allowing a 66.4% completion. And comparing that to the Panthers, they allowed a 67% completion, so kind of around the same. But the difference is the Bucs got 46 sacks, like I said earlier, which puts them at sixth. They were also the fourth best in run defense. allowing only 4.3 yards per carry. That is an entire yard difference than the Panthers, which is what I was saying. Does Derek Brown really give that much to the Panthers? I don't know. They only allowed 13 touchdowns, which put them at 12th as far as rushing goes. So, I'm not the biggest believer in Todd Bowles. It's easy for me to say that because, like, I'm sure Bucs fans are like, dude, he just won fucking 5 division titles in a row. Absolutely, he did. A lot of those were under Brady, but he did. He has. I don't know. And yes, it's hard for me to put my finger on it. Yes, they win. They do. But I think this division is just dog shit, and they kind of benefit from that. They're just the least doggy shit out of all the dog shit that is on the field. Like if the NFC South is just a dog park where no one picked up after their dogs, the Bucs would probably be like closer to the gate. You know what I'm saying? Like they would be that one team, that one dog owner that picks up the shit because their dog always shits next to the gate or like next to the trash can that you throw the dog. They're the least shitty out of all the dog shit. That's what I'm getting at. If there's a Lil Wayne bar in there somewhere, but I just think they benefit from that. I think the division is so fucking bad and has been that they're just the least. Point being, like, look, when they get to the playoffs, they lose. I know they beat the Eagles that one year, but the Eagles that year, dude, completely self-imploded. That was before Kellen got there. That's the reason they even hired Kellen Moore. But they lost to the Commanders last year in the playoffs, and that was Jaden Daniels as a rookie. Now, Jaden Daniels is built differently. However, you would want to beat a rookie in the playoffs, let's be honest. You would. Especially because the Commanders didn't really have that good of a defense last year. You would think it would be a good matchup for the Bucs, is what I'm getting at. NFC South, not good. The Bucs are just the best of the worst. You know what I'm saying? That's at least somewhat of my excuse as to why they keep winning the division. They do have a really good offense, though. I'm not going to take that away from them. Todd Bowles is a defensive coach, and the defense is, yes, it's good in the run. Yeah, but it's also probably somewhat good in the run because teams were trying to throw to keep up with them. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's why it's bad in the pass, because they're in shootouts. And if you were really good at pass defense and run defense, you're probably not 10-7. You're probably somewhere like 13 and fucking, whatever that equates to, 13-4. You get what I'm saying? Every year, they barely win the division, is all I'm getting at. And it's not that good of a division at all. That's all I'm saying, really. But my prediction is they will barely win the division again. I got them winning the division. Probably somewhere around 10 wins again. And shit, it might even be 9. It could jump to 11. I don't know. But it's not going to be like 14 or 13. They'll probably get bounced out of the playoffs round 1 immediately once they play a good team, because that's what happens every single year. And they'll be in a lot of shootouts. They'll probably win those shootouts, but they'll be in a lot of them. All it takes is one of those shootouts, Baker throws a pick. You get what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, I don't know. I don't have the strongest feelings about the Bucs. They right now they are the team to beat in the division, and it's just the Saints aren't in position to compete for the division anyway. So realistically, it kind of doesn't matter to me. I want to say that we split the series with them. I don't know for sure, though, because, again, Saints are really not that good. But the Bucs are really going to be relying on those rookies, man, in that secondary. And that can get dangerous. And this right here, bro, this is my least. I like don't even want to talk about these motherfuckers. How do I feel about the fucking Falcons? Falcons, the Pittsburghs. I can't stand them at all. I hate the way they walk. I hate the way they talk. I hate that they are the Benz Dome after the Saints already were. Like, get your own fucking sponsor. Um, I hate that they have a Chick-fil-A in their stadium and Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. I hate that they pumped fake crowd noise into their stadium because they couldn't fill seats. I just hate them. I hate the Falcons. It's hard to put into words just how much I fucking hate them, dude. I hope Michael Penix stubs his toe tonight. I probably will. Karma, you know what I mean? I probably will for saying that. But I hope he stubs his toe. I don't know. I don't ever wish injury upon a player unless it's Deshaun Watson or Justin Tucker because you're a terrible human being. But if Michael Penix, stubbed his toe or stepped on a Lego, I wouldn't be sad at all. But let's do it. Let's talk about the damn Pissbirds. God, here we go. I am not buying this Michael Penix hype. I am not. I refuse. A 5-game sample, and he didn't even really win games. He won 2 games, one against the Raiders. I don't even care to look at who the other team was, but he lost to the Panthers. I understand the Saints did too, but aren't we? We're talking about a team that's supposed to be pushing for the playoffs. You couldn't beat the Panthers to get to the playoffs. They only had 5 picks in this past draft, and they took 4 players at 2 of the same positions. And they traded away a first next year in order to do that. And I'm talking about trading up for James Pierce Jr. after already drafting Jalen Walker. It's dumb. It's terrible. It's stupid. But, if it works out, then it works out. Record last year, 8-9. But they started 6-3. That means over the course of the last 8 games, they went 2-6. And one of the teams that they lost to was the Darren Rizzi-led Saints. Okay? That got Kirk Cousins benched. This team is poverty. I fucking hate the Falcons. Roster strength. I guess O-line. I watched Chase Young absolutely bully whoever the fuck their left tackle is. I saw Brian Brzee absolutely bully whoever their fucking guards are. Like, yes, their O-line is the strength, but they took a step back last year, so I don't know. So I guess O-line, but I am not going to sit here and act like they have a amazing offense. They had the opportunity to build on that offense, and they chose not to. They drafted 2 defensive ends and 2 safeties. And if you ask Falcons fans about it, they're like, well, we address needs. Get Penix more help. What happens if, again, not wishing injury upon anybody, but God forbid, imagine if Drake London or Darnell Mooney gets hurt. You have Ray McLeod running out there as your wide receiver 2, bro. And if it's Drake London that gets hurt, you are absolutely cooked because Darnell Mooney is now your wide receiver 1 with Ray McLeod as your wide receiver 2. What are you going to rely on Nick Nash, the fucking undrafted free agent? Are you serious? No. You still have Kyle Pitts as your tight end. He sucks. He is a bust. He sucks. He's not even going to be on the team next year. That is still your starting tight end. You ignored helping your offense. You basically said that your offense is good enough already. And that is a loser's mentality. Weakness, depth, all around. Depth all the fuck around. They have no depth behind the top 2 receivers. No depth at corner. Like none. They have AJ Terrell. And I don't even think he's that good. I think he's overrated. I'm a Saints fan. I'm biased. I think AJ Terrell is over fucking rated. Technically, they have depth at safety. Technically, because they drafted 2, even though they already had 2 starters. But Teams should absolutely be able to feast on them in the run and underneath routes because their front seven, while yes, they just drafted 2 rookies, those are edge players. If you want to run it up the middle on them, it's going to be there. It's going to be there. What they signed, Divine Diablo, what the fuck ever. Caden Ellis, what the fuck ever. Run the ball on them. It's going to work. Underneath routes, it's going to work. Let's go to the statistics. Michael Penix, 775 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions in 5 games. 58% completion and 78 QBR. And all of a sudden, we're talking about a franchise quarterback. But when I talk about Spencer Rattler, who had basically the same numbers but more yards in only 1.5 more games, he doubled Penix's yards. All of a sudden, Penix is a franchise guy, but Rattler is just dog shit. When Rattler didn't even have near the weapons to work with that Penix did. Penix had Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson in the backfield, Tyler Algier, and apparently a good O-line, and they really didn't have injuries. I saw a thing that compared the injuries the Falcons had to the year that the Rams won the Super Bowl, and these motherfuckers only won 8 games with that. Imagine they actually get some injuries this year, dude. Do you get what I'm saying? Let's pump the fucking brakes on the Falcons. And I'm really not even trying to be biased. I'm just trying to say, like, where the fuck are we getting this hype from? Y'all always want to hype them up and they never do shit. One day, y'all will realize they haven't even been to the playoffs since 2016. It's been damn near a decade. And I'm spitting straight facts on these motherfuckers, dude. Bijan, over 1,500 rushing and receiving. Cool. Drake London, 1,200 yards. Darnell Mooney, 992. Defense, 18th in pass. But listen to this. Allowed a staggering 69.9% completion. They basically allowed quarterbacks to complete the ball at a 70% rate against them. And I'm supposed to just, and they didn't address corner, but I'm supposed to just accept that they, quote, got better? Fuck no. Putting them last in the league with that. 31 sacks, which puts them at 31st in the league. Sure, they addressed that. Okay, whatever. Cool. You want to get a couple more sacks? Unless you're getting 10 more? You know what I'm saying? 15th in run defense at 4.5 yards per carry. They only allowed 11 touchdowns, and that's cool because I put them at 4th. But, you know, fuck them. All right, so here's my prediction for the bitch-ass Pittsburghs. Fuck the Falcons. Fuck them until the day that I die. Fuck the Falcons. I would get that tatted on me, but that would mean that I would be having the word Falcon tatted on me, and I would never fucking do that. Here's my prediction. They're going to take a slight step backwards. Raheem Morris kind of strikes me as a Dennis Allen clone. And yeah, I could be wrong, but go watch his coaching tape. Do it. How do you start out 6-3 and then go to 8-9? And you want to blame Kirk Cousins? Go ahead, blame Kirk Cousins. At some point, you're going to have to start blaming the coaching staff. You know why? Because he is a defensive coach. And his defense allowed 70% completion to quarterbacks. The O-line was showing signs of getting worse over the course of the year. They allowed 32 sacks. And again, I got to see more from Penix before I'm willing to admit he was worth a top 10 pick while you're already paying a quarterback a ridiculous amount of money. Probably 7-10. They addressed the pass rush, but they lost Grady Jarrett, and Onyemata is only getting older. Onyemata got drafted about a decade ago. By who? The Saints. He's a bitch. He's a traitor. I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but I don't care about him. Anyway, they didn't address the fact that they're terrible in pass coverage because they only drafted safeties, not a corner. They drafted Xavier Watts, which is cool. I will fucking say, go look on my Twitter. I'll probably post it on TikTok as well. Don't you fucking dare sit here and tell me that Xavier Watts picked off Tyler Shuck. Go look it up. Shuck's receiver dropped the ball when it would hit him in the fucking hands and basically gave it to Watts. Don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking dare. And on top of that, don't act like Jalen Walker bullied Kelvin Banks. Go look up that exact rep that I know what the fuck y'all are talking about. Go look it up. And I want you to do an exercise with me. It's called counting. Falcons fans, it's called counting. You start with 1 and then 2 comes next. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Why does the quarterback still have the ball in his hands? That is why it looked like Jalen Walker won that rep. Don't you fucking dare. I know y'all don't know what football is, but don't you fucking dare. Anyway, they drafted Xavier Watts and Billy Bowman. I think Bowman's like 5'9", bro. He's going to get bullied. He is. He really wasn't that good at Oklahoma. They didn't draft the corner is my point. It just feels messy to me, and like they did have a plan, but they didn't at the same time. And the fact that Raheem Morris is a defensive head coach, if his defense is once again middle of the pack or even worse, it's like, what are you even doing here? That's the question you're going to have to ask. The fact that you had to fire your defensive coordinator last year, you're a defensive guy. What do you mean you fired your defensive coordinator? That doesn't make any fucking sense. You should be in control of that, right? No. And then we're talking about they got an upgrade in Jeff Ulbrich. What does Raheem Morris even do? Is he a defensive coach or is he a CEO style? You get what I'm saying? So, man, fuck the Falcons, bro. That's really the moral of the story. Fuck them. That poverty-ass franchise, bro. I can't fucking stand them. Now we saved the best for last, so let's get to it. The Saints. That's right. I'm doing a preview on us, too. The Saints draft picks absolutely address needs. And, oh, by the way, the Falcons could be fucking 12 and whatever the fuck, 12 and 5 next year for all I give a fuck. They're still going to split the series with the Saints. The only way a series wouldn't be split is if we swept them. They will never sweep us. I'm putting that out into the world. Anyway, the Saints draft picks definitely address needs, but you most likely won't see the benefits of that draft class until 2026. Record last year, 5-12. So roster strength, in my opinion, it's O-line, but you could definitely say running back or linebacker as well. Linebacker, they're getting really old. You could say that about running back, but you have Kendre Miller, Devin Neal. Why am I just? I mean, those are the top three: Kamara, Devin Neal, Kendre Miller. Who's the fourth? I don't know. We'll see. But at linebacker behind DeMario, you have Pete Werner, still pretty young. And then Danny Stutzman, I've heard great things about him from camp. Now we'll need to see what the pad's on, but apparently he plays like he has his fucking hair on fire, and I love that. Plus, apparently Nephi Sewell's been stepping up, so that's cool. Fuck it. Anyway, those would be the roster strength. The weaknesses, probably just the unknown of the pass catchers because they kind of lack that big body guy. I know they have Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I'm not even sure he's going to make the roster. I think probably Cedric Wilson would before him, unless they use Jawan Johnson as like that big slot role, which is absolutely possible. That's just what I'm saying. So that or the unknown of the secondary, because it is like I can't sit here and shit on the Bucs for having a young secondary. The Saints have a very young secondary, which is nice to hear for once. But the Saints also have a very young and unproven secondary. So that would probably be the weaknesses, just the unknown of those two. We'll go with some statistics. Rattler, 1,300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 5 picks, 57% completion, 70 QBR in 6.5 games. So Rattler only played 1.5 games more than Penix, but had, let's say, 500 more yards. You're throwing a Kevin Austin Jr., Russ. Anyway, Alvin Kamara, over 1,600 rushing and receiving yards. So that's more than Bijan. So I don't want to hear shit about him either. And let's just be honest. Oh, and Kamara did that in 14 games, by the way. Bijan played all 17. So anyway, let's just be honest though. Putting a receiver statistic would be hilarious. The Saints just had terrible receiver production last year, but it's because they were all hurt. And that's definitely possible they get hurt again. I get it. And that's kind of plays into what I'm talking about with the unknown for the pass catching group. But your leading receiver was Juwan Johnson at 548 yards. Funny enough, Alvin Kamara had 543. Alvin Kamara was 5 yards away from leading the team in rushing and receiving yards. The defense, 26th in passing. However, 4th best in the league in completion percentage. They only allowed 61% completions. That's pretty dope. And 4th in passing touchdowns allowed at 19. 39 sacks put them in 19th in the league. But, and this probably does factor into the passing part, except for the completion percentage part. That you can't lie about that. That is a legit stat. So they were 31st in run defense, 4.9 yards per carry allowed. That's basically half of a first down every time someone got the ball, and 20 touchdowns allowed. So the run defense needs to get better. It does. Here is my prediction for the Saints. Are y'all ready? I'm going to state my claim now. Here we go. And I'm probably going to be wrong, but here we go. Spencer Rattler is your week 1 starter. Here's my thought behind that. I think you start Rattler first because I don't know why all of a sudden I had a list right there. I think you start Rattler first because if you start him and things go poorly, then you turn to Shuck. But here's the issue with starting Shuck first. If you start him first and things go poorly and you have to turn to Rattler, it's just not nearly as good of a look. Like it almost looks like a waste of a pick in a sense. And yes, that might be rushing things, but like it's not. I'm not like doing a Rubik's Cube for y'all. Like it's not hard to figure out why it makes more sense to start Rattler first. And even if Rattler does well, the Saints probably won't win hella games by any means. Like my guess would be 6. Like I got the Saints winning 6 games. You could argue that you could probably, even if Rattler is doing well, you could probably say to him, we got to see what we got in this other kid. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. Like you could, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's so hard. I go back and forth with myself on this. I got Rattler starting week 1. That's the basis of this. The offense should be better regardless, simply because of coaching, and the O-line. I'm not kidding, and this is not, to me, this isn't a hot take, but I guess to some people it is. I got the Saints having a top 10 offensive line next year as long as they stay healthy. It's full of first-round picks. I mean, Eric McCoy is a second-round pick, but he basically was a first-round pick. You should have a top 10 offensive line. there's really no excuse. My prediction is Kelvin Banks from left to right. Kelvin Banks, Trevor Penning, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Taliesin Fuaga. That's a top 10 unit if I've ever fucking heard one. And I think Kelvin Banks and Taliesin Fuaga in the next 3 years is going to be a top 5 tackle tandem in the league. I think that highly of them. The O-line will finish. That's what I said. So Kellen's scheme should really get the most out of the running backs. That's also going to help your quarterback. I just think the offense will be better. It's most likely going to be a 3-headed monster, being Kamara, Kendre Miller, Devin Neal, unless one of those 3 just plays so insane that you only need to utilize 2 running backs. You get what I'm saying? I think the defense will slowly improve, but they couldn't really do too much roster turnover this year because of the contracts. That's more so going to be a 2026 offseason thing. Like, the defense is going to look a lot different in 2026. But scheme-wise, it should help the run defense be better than 31st at the very least. Even if you get to 25th, you know what I mean? It's going to look better. My goal for them, I hope they get the 20th at the very least. Like, you need to fix that run defense. Especially after 5 years straight of not allowing, or however long it was. It was an insane amount of games that they didn't even allow a 100-yard rusher. I'm biased, but I like the potential of this secondary. They already barely allowed a 60% completion percentage. If you can stop the big plays from happening like this was happening last year, all of a sudden you have a top 15 pass defense, and that's absolutely something to build on. If they can get Asante Samuel Jr. in there too, watch out, bro. With all that being said, this is a team that's rebuilding, and I can't in good faith give them more than 6 wins unless absolutely everything falls your way. It's an easy schedule. You get a couple of good calls, or just someone almost picks it, but it falls out of their hands and lands in Olave's for a touchdown. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. That would be how you get more than 6 wins. But just straight up play, yeah, probably 6 wins. And yeah, that was my state of the NFC South. Let me know what y'all think in the comment down below. Let me know what you think for the Panthers. Do they win more than 6 games? Do the Buccaneers win more than 10? Do the Falcons win more than 2? I'm kidding. I fucking hate them. But do they win more than 8? Do the Falcons win more than 8 games? And do the Saints win more than 5? Let me know in the comments. Let me know. All right, and real quick, last segment, I just wanted to say this. The culture of this team, it feels like it's going somewhere, man. It really does. The past couple years with Dennis Allen, there was a lot of hanging heads and a lot of reassurance needed from players in interviews. Like, nah, we got this. Like, it's, our coach is our coach, but we're going to go out there. We're going to play hard for our people in the locker room. That's a lot different than wanting to play well for your coach. And you saw that actually with Darren Rizzi, too. Like, the players all of a sudden wanted to win for the coach. But, not even the point, because obviously Kellen Moore is the coach now. So let's just say, look, the team went paintballing last week, and it looked like players had a lot of fun. That might sound dumb, but it matters. It fucking matters. And they did a community service event yesterday where they refurbished some homes in Holly Grove. Shout out Lil Wayne. That's where he was born. Well, not born, but you know what I'm saying. Same with NBA Youngboy. I might have sounded white as fuck. Is it Youngboy? NBA? I listen to some of his music. They're both from Holly Grove. Point being is they're doing a lot of team building shit. And does that sound dumb that they went paintballing and I'm using that as like this culture is looking good? Sure, it might sound dumb to some people, but it fucking matters. It matters. You want the team to get along. You want them to buy into the system and believe in the coach. Kellen was out there paintballing with them and painting houses with them. That goes such a long way. It really does. I could not, for the life of me, see Dennis Allen or Derek Carr fucking doing that. I can't. They've already been opening up practices to fans. They're about to do the same for minicamp. They're going to do the same for training camp because it's going to be in Louisiana, not in California. I mean, it will be a little bit when they go to the Chargers, but whatever. It's heading in the right direction. And Justin Reed, who has been in multiple locker rooms, he said it himself. He said, I've been on really bad teams. I've been on mediocre teams. I've been on teams that have won it all. He said the culture that's being built here is exactly how you want it to be, exactly the place that you want it to be in. That's fantastic. That's what I love to fucking hear. That's good. If you don't care about that, then you don't care. But it's a good sign is what I'm getting at. And guys, like I said, they believe in the system. They're buying in 100%. And it's just a lot more important than people realize. And realistically, the very last thing I want to talk about, because I'm so fucking tired of this, the Saints do not need Kirk Cousins. For the love of fucking God. Do you think the Saints are some fucking 3-year-old toddler that touches the stove when it's hot? Ow, I burnt my fucking hands. I wonder what happens if I touch it again. They're not doing that. They just got rid of Derek Carr, and they just got that money off their books. They don't need Kirk Cousins. They don't need a veteran quarterback at all. Do you know who has played quarterback for them on their staff? Not for them, sorry. Do you know who has played quarterback in the NFL on their staff? Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, Scott Tolzien, the tight ends coach, Chase Hazlitt, Scott Linehan. That's 5 people who have played quarterback in the NFL. And if you want to say that Kellen Moore can't be the veteran presence that they need because he's the head coach and he has too many hats to wear, okay, that's what Doug Nussmeier is there for. He also fucking played quarterback. He played for the Saints. They don't need a veteran quarterback, at least not through training camp. If you want to get one in, I don't even think they're going to need this, but if you want to get one in just to have as a backup, sure. But I really don't even think they're going to need that. I think they might have 2 good quarterbacks on roster. And then Hunter Deckers is a solid third. That's a hot take, I know. I'm just saying. They don't need a fucking veteran quarterback. Hey, Tyler Rowland for Locked On NFL, Locked On Titans. Stop fucking trying to bring everyone that comes to your fucking mind to the Saints. They don't need a quarterback, okay? They don't fucking need it. And that's how I'm going to end this episode. The Saints don't need Kirk Cousins. Fuck Kirk Cousins, because he was a Falcon at one point. And fuck the Falcons. He still is a Falcon, technically. Fuck the Falcons. That's actually how I'm going to end it. Fuck the Falcons. No more fuck Derek Carr. Fuck the Falcons. And who dat?